All right, let me. Okay, so sorry about the technical difficulties. I think we got it. I think we got it good. We got Zombie Wolf 29. What's up? Yankee Gang. What's Gucci? Yo, we're gonna talk about some real shit in this stream. There's no cap in none of my streams. I'm 100% gangsta. I'm 100% real. I'm gonna reply to every fan's comments. Be sure to be typing away in those comments, yo. We're gonna be real. I'm gonna let the stream warm up for a second. See if we got any other real G's, any real people that are gonna pop into this. This is gonna be real. There's no cap in none of my streams. No clickbait in none of them. I promise you. We're on some YouTube hero shit. Real YouTube heroes. Stay tuned for a couple minutes. I'll talk in a little. In like 2 minutes. Now's a good time to get a drink and some food. This is gonna be a good stream. Spread this to everybody you know. Everybody. And we're gonna be good. So we're gonna get warmed up. We'll put on a song in a minute. For a minute. Got rolling. Let's get it rolling, gang. Real Saturday shit. Real Northeast shit. It's nice shit. This is 2024 shit. This is DJ Solomon streaming live to you. Three 6 9. Blue Smoke Kurt. Long live Gekume. Gekume the goat. Turn a fan on for the ambiance. Because it's totally not annoying. Free Gekume. 2016 Year of the Bloods. Not to offend any Connecticut Crips that may be watching, but 2016 Year of the Bloods, we got Trippie Redd. You know, and that's a crazy thing too. I don't know if y'all know this, but 2016, like, everything was real red back then. You know, all the SoundCloud rappers that you can think of, they were all Bloods. You remember deep fried memes and stuff? Where they have those like button B's and they'd replace words with B, like with the emoji. That's a Blood reference. I'm being real. All that SoundCloud stuff, all that Florida rap, that's all Blood territory. I'm being real. So I think we got a good amount of people. You know, I don't need a big audience or nothing like that. I just need 4 people. DeSantis, King of the Bloods. That's right. DeSantis, Decepticon. So, I think Jeff Garcia, he's posted up. I watch YouTube. We got Zombie Wolf 29. We're Gucci. Got the Juice Man, Big Juice, OJ. So I think I got actually even before that. If we really want everything to be good, we gotta be serious. We gotta be somber. Yo, this is good. All right. You know what? This is wow. Okay. Well, I mean, this is kind of like a creepypasta, so it's yeah. Anyway, so I think, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I've been going on Quora and Reddit and stuff. Um, I've been thinking that, you know, see, I was raised, no, I think it's common lore. Everybody knows. I was raised Mormon. I'm in the best part of the whole country, the Northeast. No, I'm right by the goats. Got New York City, got Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Mass. We have the perfect mix of urban sprawl and green. You got all the four seasons. I live in a very Catholic place, actually. There's a lot of Catholics where I live. And that's because there's a lot of immigrants. But I was, at a young age, I was subjected to a lot of diversity. My family, they came from the Midwest. It's mostly just like, white people and stuff like that. So they were really excited to move to where we're at now, because there's all these different, at least like from what I've experienced, mainly hella like Mediterranean folk. We got some of the Jamaicans. We got real Jamaicans up in here. I don't know if you know this. We got ZG is mainly Jamaican backed, like for real. And I used to see all these different cultures as a kid, and I used to think, you know what? There's so much good in every culture. Why don't we just we take the good, we take the good from other cultures and we kind of just mishmash them together. We can make a real super culture. The thing is that a lot of these cultures are based around religions. Every nation has some sort of deity. People got these ancestor venerations, stuff like that. They got the Bath and Body Works candles for their ancestors. I'm thinking the best thing that we can do, because right now we have Israel and Palestine. We have one of the worst, probably the worst thing since World War II happening right now. We got millions of people dying every single day. And I think a way that we can stop this, say hello. I think a way that we can stop this is we need to see what everybody has in common with each other. I saw a rabbi. I saw a rabbi talk about, the Muslims, and he was talking, hey, all this stuff right now happening between the Muslims and the Jews, it's all purely political, because guess what? We all worship the same God, okay? Look, we're cousins, We're the line of Isaac. They're the line of Ishmael. They're our cousins, And theologically, we have disputes about the Christians. The Christians, they some people say the Christians practice idolatry or whatever, but hey, as a Jew, as a rabbi, I look at these Muslims, and hey, they profess Unitarianism. They say they have the same exact beliefs as us. God is one. There's not the three gods or whatever, right? It's just one God who's totally distinct from creation, and now we can just pretend that we're like totally the same, and there's no other differences whatsoever, because it's all about the type of nature God has. That's the only thing. You know, we can overlook uh, covenantal differences. You know, we can look over like glaring discrepancies between uh, the Pentateuch and the Quran. We can just overlook these things because at the end of the day, God is like all accommodating and he'll just accommodate everybody. And I was so moved by that. But being a Jew is like it's so like first of all it's a bilingual affair. You have to know Hebrew as well. And Jews are like they're honestly like some of the smartest people I've seen, most literate. They generally like they're forced to read a bunch like as a kid. I don't think I could do that, to be honest. That's a very narrow thing. Um, my family is like I'm already grappling with two different American paradigms. I can't be Jewish and I can't be Muslim either because I don't feel like learning about Arabic. So instead, uh, I consider them a little closed-minded too. You know, I looked into Buddhism, I looked into Hinduism, I looked into all the ancient religions of the world, and you know what? I really feel like we can just hammer out some differences and we could probably create something that everybody could be happy with. You know, we can, because honestly, think about it, right? Buddhism, look at Buddhism. I think everybody could use a little bit of Buddhism. Buddhism doesn't uh, adhere to any particular deity. Uh, it's not even a religion. I watched Religion for Breakfast, I think. Some other channel. It's actually more okay. It's within the dharmic paradigm, but it's not. It doesn't have to be tied to a specific god. You can really take Buddhism, and you can just apply it to any other religion. See, because look, everybody knows every great religion has all the greats have monasticism. They have monks. For the Muslims, you have what? For the Muslims, you have everybody becomes a monk for like a whole month or something like that, right? For Ramadan. The Christians have Lent around the same time, and that's from Passover. And actually, that's just from an older, archaic, like tradition that they used to do in Mesopotamia, right? So, all those people are fasting around the same time. The Buddhists, the cool thing about them is they fast whenever, so they can just fast during those months, right? Uh, Paganism. That's the tricky thing, right? I imagine a lot of people are gonna start getting on my case about that. Where does paganism fit in? Because you can read the Old Testament, you can see all these things like, I am the Lord your God. Do not sacrifice to any of these other gods, and don't you know don't give sacrifices to me in the way that you would with them. Don't kill your children for me. I think that's just like, honestly, first of all, I did Bible study. I did Bible study with my Mormon friends, and I learned that, first of all, that doesn't even really hold up, because actually, if you read the Bible, there's actually other gods mentioned, like Moloch. You got Moloch, you got Baal, you got the greats. I mean, there's other monotheistic religions too. They're probably talking about the same God anyway. You have Ahura Mazda and Zoroastrianism. I mean, hey, there's some sort of resurrection that happens. Um, there's good and evil. There's an accuser. Uh, and I mean, excuse me. It just, I mean, and also, why would the church use Plato anyway? Why would the church use Aristotle or just any philosophy at all if they weren't already talking about the same thing that they were talking about? You know, I watched a bunch of, help me out, chat. Is his name Mr. Daggers? I was watching some Mr. Daggers video, and I learned about how basically, you know, Christianity and just Abrahamicism in general is basically about there's the highest principle, and if you reject all the lower principles and you follow the higher principle that encompasses also the lower principles, then you're basically unmovable. You're totally secure, and you just have to really hone in on that. I think that that's really admirable as a drop shipping 16-year-old and aspiring kickboxer. I think that that's the right way to go. But then you also have Buddhism, where you empty yourself and you become more and more aware of everything around you. And honestly, I really don't think that there's much of a contradiction. I brought up before my Mormon Bible study, talking about the other gods. I learned that there's a really cool term called monolatry, where essentially, where in the Bible did Jehovah claim to create the world ex nihilo? Okay, it's not, you don't see that anywhere. Okay, because actually, once again, there's other. It says we in the beginning, and I'm not a Trinitarian after all. So when I read the beginning of Genesis, and it says we, that's just all the other gods, as well as Jehovah, right? Because that's definitely what it is. So if we can find the perfect way to combine every religion, we can stop every single war. We get the best of all worlds. It's like, it works out so well. So Muhammad, I guess he's a glaring example, right? Well, it's a lot like Hannah Montana, yeah. It's like, who are your favorite? It's like Elvis Presley doing like a Christmas album, you know. It's like Nightmare Before Christmas or something. It's you can cross over, you can break all the boundaries down, and we can all just see stuff like for how it is. So everybody knows. Let me let this cat out. Let's see if you guys have any thoughts thus far. Inshallah, there will be one super religion, including Scientology. Well, the cool thing about Scientology is like it has what is that thing called where it's basically their form of like confession, where they just like repeat something over and over and over and over again until you're like totally desensitized to whatever that is. That's auditing. Yeah, hell yeah, auditing. Auditing is like, I think it could legit probably help people overcome their childhood trauma. Probably put psychedelics in there. I mean, everybody on the internet does auditing anyway, right? They had some sort of abuse happen in their childhood, and all they do as as they grow up is like absorb media related to that, like Binding of Isaac, Rebirth, stuff like that. So you people basically audit anyway. You have that. For Muhammad, you don't necessarily have to agree with him because he gave his revelation to the Arabs and the rest of the world, so that just works for them. And there's people of the book, so all the people of the book are they're equal. Allah, if you look past the modern Salafi interpretations of the Quran and the Hadith, it was basically Orthodox interpretation anyway, that Allah gave out other other revelations to other people for their own good, right? So it's not like you even really have to follow Islam. And let me get my other phone real quick. Let me turn off this filter. So there's already been other attempts to create this like universal world religion. One of them was let me flip my camera. One of them is the Baha'i faith. So the Baha'i faith was founded in the 19th century, that teaches the essential worth of all religions and the unity of all people, established by yada blah 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 parts of the Middle East, and it has ongoing persecution. So whenever you look up monotheistic religions or Abrahamic religions, you always see this pop up, and you're always like, what the hell is Bahaism or Baha'i religion? You see that show up with like the Druze religion. Maybe sometimes like Zoroastrianism will follow. So this is like, so according to Baha'i teachings, religion is revealed in an orderly and progressive way by a single God through manifestations of God, who are the founders of major world religions throughout human history. Buddha, Jesus, and Muhammad are cited as the most recent of these manifestations of God before the Bab and the Babula. Baha'is regard the world's major religions as fundamentally unified in terms of their purpose, but they believe that the world's major religions are divergent in terms of their social practices and the way in which they're interpreted. It stresses the unity of all people as its core teaching, and as a result, it explicitly rejects notions of racism, sexism, and nationalism. So, the really cool thing about that is that no one actually practices that. It was an experiment made by some like Persian dude, maybe like probably like some Ottoman, and it never really took off, like at all. You don't see people practicing the Baha'i faith. It probably only existed even for like diplomats, something like that, to follow. But there's been numerous attempts really throughout like human history to unify all the nations under like a single banner, overlooking like glaring contradictions and like basically making like compromises. So I mentioned before the rejection of like Salafism, like and by the way, just as like a side note, like Salafism is really like the modern attempt right now to gaslight people into believing that there was always like a uniform like orthodoxy within Islam. Everybody always had these interpretations, but even you can really go as far back as like the 90s, to see that that's like not true, like at all. That most of the influencers that you will see now, Muslim influencers, are probably adhere to some form of like Salafism. It's OG Islam is probably, and you have the satanic verses, whatever. You can look that up because I'm not going to talk about that, but you have like a sort of like, how should I say, every man a king, every man a king, every child a prophet. exactly. So there's a reason why Sufism exists. Sufism is extremely perennial. There's the beliefs of Allah sending out various prophets to the rest of the world, and there's been various attempts to like revitalize like that fake history, pseudo history in some sort of way. Um, when you have the Muslims conquering like the Hindus and interacting with them, uh, some people view that as like a punishment, a punishment by God for them being pagan or whatever. But you can go to that part of the world, and you can see like just there, like on like a regular local level, like degeneration. You have people like mixing in Islamic prayer with like ancestor veneration, um, and you have a million like there. And there's also a reason why like a lot of the like perennial, more Scottish Rite Freemasons and people tied to like the Germans, the Italians, all those people are like they're low key super Sufis. You know, Adolf Hitler loved Muslims. he loved uh, he loved the Bosnians, and he pitted them against Serbian Orthodox Christians. There is a modern day like, and I'm not accusing like any, I'm not accusing any Catholic of this. I'm not accusing any Catholic institution of this, per se, but there, it's mainly like it's like an online eccentric persona that people have, where you have like Catholics respecting Muslims for being more stern, socially, uh, and you have like people. I think people, for whatever reason in general, they yearn for some sort of universal religion that isn't super strict or rigid or tribal, and that's a big reason why people are. Croatia was Catholic, and they helped Germany too. Yeah, like World War II is like such a weird intersection of like those worlds, and I'm not learned enough to really talk about that specifically. But you do have like a Catholic Muslim crossover, um, especially in light of like fascism. And I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, you can kind of just see it with uh, fraternal connections. You have wait, what? You see these cats. These cats keep going like to and fro. They keep like entering my room, and then like whatever. So with Islam once again, it has these other, the Orthodox interpretation is there's these other revelations handed out. So there's potential, if you're more esoteric and you're not really like a Salafi, trying to keep like really strict societal cohesion. If you're more of like a Sufi type person, you can easily just accept other religions. Yeah, there's very specific infidels you could probably war against for political reasons, but you can turn a blind eye to a lot of other things. You can cooperate with other Abrahamic religions. You can view Buddha as a prophet. You can do a lot of different stuff like that, or a messenger. I think I'm pretty sure in Islam there's a distinction between prophet and messenger, but uh, you have like Sufis talking about how in ancient like Mesoamerica, I think, or maybe like Aztec civilization, you had people there protesting the various gods there, and saying, hey, there's one God, there's only one God, and Muslims really like to latch onto that. So Islam is one thing, I guess. Islam is very popular these days for being like this universal religion. Even if you have like this giant resurgence of Salafism, and you have Salafi social media influencers. It's still uh, that exists as like a veil to be like, okay, this is like a normal religion that like just worships God, but the you're never going to escape like the perennial roots of Islam, like the Kaaba. The Kaaba is like this. It's a perennial structure. There's all these other gods, like what's his name? Let me. I looked this up like last night. Um, I think his. So. Ibn Kafir. So there's the big thing about how Allah is like a lunar deity. I'm still thinking about what that could possibly mean, but regardless, Allah is like it's a generic title for like a chief god, or the Most High God or whatever. There's been various other gods that have like been that have basically fought each other for that. You have Hubal. I think he was one of the idols that was smashed in the Kaaba. But you have this, and I guess I could give my quick Muslim theory before I go back to what I was talking about before. Isn't Satan like tied to the moon or something? I don't know. I don't know enough about that. But my theory about Islam is that Muhammad found out about Jehovah, the one true God. Yo, you guys. Yo. Damn. Hold on. Okay, we're back. Dang, that's really annoying. But anyway, let me just add people real quick. The interesting angle about Islam, and I think a big reason why Islam is being more like spread around now, is because of the fact that it has more potential in people's eyes now to be like, yeah, I'm surprised people stayed too, but it's a universal religion. Muhammad, instead of something like descending down from heaven from God, Muhammad was incredibly opportunistic. He went to probably the most worldly structure you could possibly go to, and instead of actually like communing with God in some sort of way, or like covenanting with him or submitting to him, having faith in Jesus Christ, he instead like probably saw the Most High God or whatever as like just the most powerful. All these other gods are weak. All these other gods are very particular. This God, however, is extremely powerful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this structure, I'm going to direct its energy to the Most High God, and I'm going to associate myself with this God as much as possible. I'm going to mandate people to include my name in their prayers, so that by like vicariously being like mentioned with this God will bless me with this power. I will become one of the most powerful men in the entire world. And I'm not necessarily saying that he had some like giant 4D chess plan. He was a extremely simple man, but there was some part of him subconsciously that probably believed this, and I think a lot of it is not like a big
theological like map or schematic or anything like that, but instead like um, it's like social technology. You know what I mean? Like he socially understood this in some sort of way, and I feel like that just encapsulates like most people now, like their approach to understanding divinity or um, understanding God. And it's not specific to Islam. The way I view Islam in my mind is like it's not even like we cannot really fathom right now what the final thing what the final thing is. We nobody should ever make any like big precise laid out, they got the dates, they got the Mayan calendar, like planning out what exactly we're going to see in the end days. uh, I really don't think Islam necessarily is going to be the final boss against Christians worldwide or something like that. You know what I mean? Uh, I don't, and I don't even think it has like that type of like like fortitude globally to even like achieve something like that. To be honest, uh, instead, what will probably, and I'm not making any prediction at all. I'm just kind of looking at like how people treat religion now, especially like in relevant countries. Okay, not like Kazakhstan or Central Asia, but like English-speaking countries. Um, people people don't really approach. I mean, obviously you have like insane like confessionalist schizophrenics, but honestly, most people in their minds are like uh, comfortable with syncretism. They're not comfortable with putting their entire life into something and singling out every other religion. They want to look at stuff like the Bible, more so the Bible than the Quran. They treat the Quran as like such a mystical book, but they'll apply all the higher criticism towards the Bible, and they won't discard the Bible entirely. They won't just refuse to read it, but they'll just change the interpretation of whatever it is and apply the most ahistorical or allegorical readings of the Bible. Like for instance, like people can look at Genesis, the beginning of Genesis, and they can interpret it as like, oh, this represents human consciousness. This represents quantum mechanics. This represents evolution, man evolving from ape, man's break from the animal kingdom. This could be the Big Bang, something like that. They're not going to throw away the whole Bible. They're not going to just ban people from reading it. They're going to be subversive. And they're going to do the same thing for Islam because they don't want to offend Muslims. But at the same time, they're not. Islam, for as massive as Islam is, and for as perennial as it could be esoterically, it still encompasses too much exclusivity. There's still going to be Muslims that are going to reject fusing traditional Islam with like other religions, so they have to be subversive about that too. So they're not going to put up the banner of like the Ottoman Empire or something. They're not going to put up the banner that, okay, America and Europe, this is the Ummah now. You know what I mean? They're not gonna do that. They're going to do something else, and the way that they're going to do it is by letting people basically still keep their religions. Like Muslims can still be Muslims, Jews can still be Jews, but secularly, they're going to write a giant ahistorical mythology that encompasses everybody's religions and everybody's backgrounds, and it's going to make everything like a equal ground for everybody, where everybody can be valid in some sort of way. And that's kind of what I was getting at the beginning of the stream. Like, they're going to say Buddha he was a messenger. He was a messenger of Allah, and his teachings are not heretical whatsoever. The Muslims, they believe that there's multiple revelations given out, so you don't have to cease being Christian. You don't have to cease being Jew. Jews are going to believe that God doesn't have a word, he doesn't have a son, and instead he's this schizophrenic, insane, infinite, mindless essence that like leaks into creation that people can tap into through mystical schools and sorcery, the Talmud and the Zohar. People like crypto-Jewish, humanist Christians historically have gotten into the Zohar and the Talmud, gematria. They've created masonry around that, and they evolved those types of readings of God into like pantheism, into deism, into the things that have created the atheism that we take for granted now. Basically, like atheism is not just the rejection of all gods out of like some sort of disbelief. To be honest, there's a history of people slowly developing and evolving into the worldview that we take for granted now in the West. Unitarianism kind of goes like hand in hand with that too. Just removing like the character and the personality of God, and then just making him some weird mechanistic thing. I hope that makes sense. So, and also the Jews, they don't even have like rabbinic Jews don't even have a theology that's like remotely close to what Muslims believe in. They both pretend that they're like Unitarian religions. Unlike Christianity is weird, it's too hard to understand or whatever. Jews and Muslims, they just say that they're Unitarian. They say that they believe in the same God, but they have different laws. You look in deeper, Judaism, rabbinic Judaism has all these Gnostic, emanationist things, and Islam doesn't have like any of that. Although I will say real quick, Kabbalah and Sufism are kind of like intertwined a bit historically in like Spain. They both converged around the same time. You have like the Visigoths, these pagan people, they're conquered by the Muslims, and you have these other Jews, these like Sephardic Jews. They're all hanging around Spain, and they come up with these two schools of thought that are very closely related, Kabbalah and Sufism. They interacted with each other a bunch. Actually, Kabbalists took a lot from Sufi practices, such as I think meditating on specific words, humming like a very specific type of meditation, praying in like roughly like the shape of characters, like letters, stuff like that. They're both very similar in that respect, but they both schismed later on because as Jews and Muslims, like they ultimately are going to like oppose each other. That's also kind of interesting too, just from if you're trying to create like a narrative of world history. Like think about what Spain is. Spain kind of became like the face of Catholicism, and later on, and came to the Americas, and you have the colonists. They bring Catholicism over to the Americas, and the Americas. What are the Americas? The Americas. That's like the New World. That's like this distant, mythical lands that people occasionally bumped into. That could change. Like whoever could control the New World could control the fate of the rest of the world, and you really had like a battle, like an arms race to see who could take over uh, America first. So, and also, might I add that like Spaniards and Anglos, they have like a different ethnic composition, but they both have like a sort of similar genealogical shape. With the Anglos, you have the people who immigrated from like North Africa, Phoenicians, whatever, uh, or and some people shape this into being like Jewish, maybe. And then you have like a Visigothic background. Obviously you can just break apart Anglo-Saxon, and that's like a giant history of the Normans. It's similar. It's very similar, in a lot of ways. Like Spain and you know the UK now kind of mirror each other. They're like twin nations, and it makes sense that they both represent these like two ideologically opposing parts of like the world, and they both come to America, and it's like this big battle for like the destiny of like everybody. Uh, so, and I think that that's relevant to the whole world religion thing, because I mean, a lot of the Catholics now that you see in like South America, some in Mexico, they really have this belief that you can still have pagan worship, you can still have ancestor veneration, you can still introduce other gods into the mythos, as long as Christ is still like in the center of that. You can worship Christ plus these like weird folklore saints and stuff like that. So there's already like a big political compromise there. It's like, you can still uphold some of your practices so long as like, Christ is still present in some sort of way. Um, as for like the and I feel like that's very perennialist, to be honest. It makes sense. Spain is this, from my interpretation as someone who doesn't speak Spanish, who wasn't brought up Hispanic or anything like that. The way I interpret it is that like Spain is sort of this, just like the UK is, like it's this crossroads of like everything across the world. It's the Mediterraneans, it's the Romans, it's the North Africans, it's the Jews, it's the chosen people, and then it's the northern peoples, because of the Visigothic, Asian sort of like ethnic makeup. So Spain was Muslim at one point too. So it's like if that's what America like becomes, it becomes this like majority like Hispanic Mexican nation, and you have like this folklore syncretized folk Catholicism spreading around everywhere. That's kind of like a return to true form with the whole Kabbalah Sufism thing I was talking about before. It's like Kabbalah and Sufism were both just like these two different wings that focused on different things. Like the Kabbalists, that leads honestly into a more like secular atheist direction, where the Sufis are more perennialist. It's more like National Socialism and stuff. These are my socks, if you were wondering. And I was stimming and putting on another sock on top of the sock. But you have these two different wings. They can't reconcile with each other. But if you have a Catholic, universal church of all peoples that lets people venerate their ancestors and the primordial gods that like preside over their countries, like it's you can reconcile the irreconcilable in the most schizophrenic way possible, I think. It really takes a false Christian to unify every fake religion. The Jews couldn't do it. The Muslims couldn't do it. It takes someone who reads the Bible and doesn't understand it like at all to bring a bunch of people who would normally not get along with each other together. You know what I mean? I think that's very dangerous. So in America was really meant to be the place where this would, like, I think, come to full fruition. Because in America, people have totally contradicting beliefs. They try to reconcile the irreconcilable. They have insane cognitive dissonance. And I mean, people are just so crazy in America that's why they're confused about their bodies. They hate themselves. They have a million different mental illnesses. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? If you have the Kabbalists who are the atheists, or the Sufis who are the more perennialists, they can't fully reconcile with each other. If you put like a fake Christ in the center of this, there's just the right theological blanket to where you can just let everything happen all at once. You can unite all the nations together. We the poorest, loneliest, most confused generation for real. Facts. So and also, this is only possible by severing the deity of Christ from the name. If you really believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, the triune God is the only God, and that he died on the cross and rose 3 days later, showed us the way, just through him, help us carry our cross and to atone for all our sins. And the resurrected life is like it's sharing our life with Jesus, who's eternal, and we're temporal. If you believe in this, you have to rid yourself of all idolatry. You can't venerate like any other god. You can't do that. If you sever the deity from Christ and you just view him as like a good moral teacher, then you can create this fake mythology in your head that Jesus was just the best person in the world. He wasn't God whatsoever, and he showed us how to not judge each other. And everybody can put up that banner, and they can still practice stupid religions that are like warring with each other. You know what I mean? You can say Jesus was a really good prophet. He's a really good messenger for a extremely how should I say? Like, Jesus was an extremely good guy, and his history, like the Jews, you can read. The only reason we venerate the saints is because Christ indwelled them. These other gods contradict Christ, so they cannot be respected. Amen. That's true. That's incredibly true. If you remove like the authority of Christ, and you just say that he's a prophet, he's like Buddha, like you can reconcile that with like Muhammad. Once again, with the multiplicity of revelations, you can have the insane Kabbalistic methodology and way of life where we min-max good and evil. We can be utilitarian. We can venerate other gods alongside Jesus. We can view ourselves as God, and we've created the world religion there. We can, nobody, no worldly, extremely political, wicked person is going to argue against that. King of Jew and Gentile. That's right. So, and once again, America is so, like, the 19th century is just this hotbed of cults. You have a million different cults. And actually, and an interesting thing about that too is a lot of it is about swapping, like, the places of angels and humans, which is, like, interesting. Like what Jehovah's Witnesses believe that instead of Jesus Christ being like the Son of God of the same essence, instead of believing that, they believe he was the firstborn of creation and creation was made through him. And he was Archangel Michael. It just sounds literally like Lucifer lying. That's what it sounds like to me. And the Jehovah's Witnesses believe in a spiritual resurrection and not a bodily resurrection. And I think they and I don't fully understand it either. If somebody has any resources where I can read more about it, I think they believe in some form of, like, I don't know if it's that there's like a life force that can be like transformed. There can't be like a body and a incorporeal, like, soul or spirit, or soul and spirit if you're one of the people that differentiates. They don't believe in that. They believe that you're just like a body basically, and when you die, you are resurrected as a spirit. And it just reminds me of all the big. It's kind of like a motif in paganism, but you see it now in, like, video games and, like, pop culture, because it's just something people intuitively understand to some degree, that it's sort of like a demonic temptation to be like the body is weak and low. There's these primordial gods who are from, like, the bedrock of creation, who are completely inhuman, and they're, like, inviting us to join them and to be in the midst with them, even though we're not created for the same purpose as them. We're going to, like, ditch our bodies, we're going to die, and we're going to be resurrected as a spirit so we can have their ethereal power, even though we're, like, humans. And then with demons, it's kind of like the opposite, right? Because, like, what do they try doing? They try, like, manifesting themselves in creation haphazardly through possession, or and by creation I mean, like, corporeality, because they're creatures, they're created too. That's another thing that you have to be careful about. But they there's idolatry. That's literally, like, it's a piece of wood, it's rock, it's stone, it's sometimes plastic. That's not their body. They're incorporeal, and it's a weird perverse, like, confusion. And they enter people's bodies. It's like it's an American restoration, like cults basically. You see this switch, like, everywhere. I already mentioned the Jehovah's Witnesses, like, basically tempting people to become like angels or something. It's spooky like that. You have Mormonism, which doesn't actually distinguish human beings from angels. Mormonism is like of a very specific kind of, like, has a very specific demonic bias, because it's literally like, oh, the ethereality, the ethereal space, the super celestial existence is actually inferior to creation. So it's so basically we have to we were created as spirit beings by God, and in order to become like God, we had to actually indwell in creation in matter, and then we could like level up our XP, and then we could become super powerful. The death and resurrection stuff, I don't even feel like explaining like how that works in Mormonism, but it's interesting. So there you see like a blurring of the lines. Let me read the chat. I met somebody who believes the soul isn't real and calls himself a Christian. There's something matriarchal about that. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of it reminds me of like, it's interesting you say there's something matriarchal about that. It reminds me about how in Islam they believe that the earth was created before the heavens, which also sounds demonic to me. That sounds like what a demon would want. And in general in Islam, like all the motifs are like flipped. Like it's, you know, it's Ishmael over Isaac. There's female circumcision sometimes in some countries. The lunar deity is masculine and the solar deity is feminine. They follow a lunar calendar. It's if you guys have any thoughts about that, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin with that, but that's like insane to me. So that seems extremely oh, and also by the way, a bodily resurrection. While there's some Muslims that believe there's a bodily resurrection, there's a lot that don't believe that it's a spiritual resurrection. So make of that what you will. There's people that believe like still Jesus is only like, oh, matriarchal about the celestial being inferior. Yeah, yeah, definitely. The Japanese see the sun as a goddess. I really wish I knew more about Japan. Really, I wish I knew more. It's interesting that these very patriarchal cultures have this very matriarchal symbology. It's the same in the it's the same in the ghetto. It's the same in the hood. It's like they're all raised by single moms, and they don't have like any like father, and they're obsessed with fertility cults and whatnot. But it's still predominantly like male driven, and it's very flamboyant. I think Islam is like related to that. That's probably why Islam like is so popular in like the hood, because it's besides the fact that it's like a merchant religion, I guess. What was the story of Muhammad his mother's grave? I don't recall. But anyway, and I'll get back to the world religion stuff after. He was extraordinarily distraught and crying like a baby at his mother's grave. That's crazy, dude. He was really, he had a lot of messed up stuff about him from like, I think, paternal figures in his life. And then I'm not trying to even psychoanalyze, because that's like really cringe, but I think he had like just that's probably why he didn't like calling God his father. Also, his wife was older than him. Yeah, and I think I cannot verify if this is true, because I simply don't know, but I seem to remember Steven telling me that like a lot of Muhammad's like early converts and stuff were all like really young, like young men. So maybe he's like somewhat age regressed. I'm not sure. It's crazy though. But anyway, there's I think a part of like messing up the hierarchy, the place, the nature of human beings and angels is like another way you can help manufacture this stupid Reddit religion that people like follow, confusing these things. Once again, Jesus is just a really good guy. Multiplicity of revelations in Islam, Buddhism as this universal principle that could just be applied to anything. Taoism, really dialectical thought. A refusal to respect like the mysteries. you can even the Sikhs are like an attempt at doing that. So it's crazy, and that's what's stupid. That's really what stupid people want. And there's politicians worldwide that are on board with this. It's just a mess. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else, any other new points I haven't covered. Also, wow, that's crazy. I don't care that much about Islam. I think like it's I think one of the few reasons to know anything about Islam is just the fact that it's like it's gonna become everybody's problem, like extremely soon. Like, obviously you had the Tradcath Christian revivalism. Like it's basically just it's like Methodism 2.0. It's gonna burn out super quick. You're probably already seeing people like apostatize like from it because it was just mainly aesthetically driven. But and I'm not trying to accuse either or anything like that. I'm not pointing at anybody in particular. I've seen like a lot of that. But I think from like what I've been able to like see from hearing what like priests have to say, that's a big reason why being like a catechumen at this point is like it takes like catechism takes so much longer now because they're really trying to like weed out people's intentions with converting, which sucks. That's really sad. You know what I mean? It's sad that it had to come to that. Islam is like you could just take the shahada, dude. And also cross bearing is not it's there's something about it that's like important to everybody. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's hard to talk about all this like worldly success and hustling and breaking the matrix by like thinking outside the box and doing like this 4D chess and stocks and whatnot. It's hard to do that and also espouse like cross-bearing stuff. So for a lot of people, the Christian revival is basically it's the same as like either like WASP revival or it's you know Catholicism being tied to like Mediterraneans and whatnot. Orthodoxy is too diverse from what I've seen to be able to generalize with that like at all. There's a lot of genuine converts to that, but I'm sure that there's some people that are becoming part of that as because for like a national church or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like if I were to just think about like what people want in today's culture, Islam is very rewarding with like that kind of worldly stuff. It's all about like being really successful, being like a grind set hustler. You know what I mean? Because that's what like Muhammad was. So it doesn't have a lot of there's a lot of prelest in Islam. There's no nepsis, watchfulness, accountability, or anything like that. It's just like people can all, and people are rewarded for being Muslim too. There's like financial benefits. So a lot of people are going to convert to that instead, and that's why you're seeing more Dawa stuff arguably than Christian stuff just in the really open mainstream, and the Free Palestine stuff is just going to make that even bigger because people hate America and they want to be third worldists. So Islam is like it's the right call. You can go look at the UK and you can see like all these like thugs and criminals and stuff are converting to Islam. A lot of them probably have Muslim backgrounds to begin with, but people are like buying out dying churches and converting them into mosques. It's Anglicanism has like totally just ditched its, and there's multiple reasons that it's too long for me to literally talk about on this. Like I literally don't have time. Maybe I could plug some books for you guys to read. Uh, and I don't even know if I want to do like a selected excerpts thing, but there's just the Anglican Church and Protestantism, for various different reasons. It has, and I'm saying Protestant just to mean anything that's not like an ancient apostolic church. I'm just talking about um, any of those churches. I'm not talking about theology, but all these churches have died out for various reasons. People are a lot weaker on doctrine. They treat the church as like a TED Talk place and not as like a temple. The Anglicans and the Episcopalians are like really bad because they just totally want it to be, and this is not even like an anti-Catholic stream. And I'm sure that like a Catholic would agree with me that it's not necessarily like the right call if it's just this like insincere thing. But the Anglican Church started doing like crypto Catholicism really for political reasons. It became a lot weaker on doctrine, stopped upholding the 39 articles of religion, just totally validating all the stupid crap everywhere from immigrants, like Hindus, and ordaining female priests. So Christianity is so wishy-washy in places like England that it's the perfect opportunity for people are yearning for like tradition. I think they're really just yearning for like a real like not ritualism, but like a real living liturgy and convicted spiritual life. And that's ultimately going to be Christian, but people are so like they've forgotten entirely what that looks like over just like a couple centuries. Nonconformism is not stable at all, so you can't just be like a Christian and not go to a church. So you're going to have all these Muslims moving over to the UK, and they're going to proselytize, they're going to attack Christianity as hard as possible, they're going to vote for anti-Christian politicians, they're going to slander Christianity, they're going to use third worldism and genocides happening across the world as a reason to attack Christian doctrine, and they're going to treat Islam as like the new post-Christian, like Marxism basically. And I think that's a reason why people should pay attention to it. If you're a Christian right now and you're living in the UK, I feel like horrible for you, because that's probably extremely hard to like be resilient when basically there's a million other wolves in sheep's clothing just totally like selling you out and deracinating you and like handing you over to like foreigners. So who the hell lives in the UK? The goats? The UK goats? What do you mean? Everyone knows all the goats are over there. I have a couple UK watchers who will probably lurk and watch this later, maybe. But yeah, it's brutal out here, man. I mean, hell, the Prime Minister of the UK is like, he says he likes Hinduism, bro. Like, he's a Hindu guy. I mean, Rishi Sunak, he's of the Conservative Party. He literally like he's like spiritually like a Hindu. Imagine telling any Englishman this like in the 1600s or the 1700s that a pagan is going to be the prime minister of like their country. Like it's totally insane. It's totally insane to me. We live in the Hindu Sufi the Hindu crypto Sufi caliphate under Sufi King Charles, basically. So it's bad out here, you know. In America, you're ultimately, you can look at it through the lens of, there's the English, the Puritans, and there's the Spaniards, which are these two people trying to go to the Americas to set up whatever their thing is. It's like the the, the 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 Puritans, the Reformed Anglicans, the um, Presbyterians, and then like the weird raghouse Baptists or whatever went over to America, and they tried to create like a utopia. I think it was legit. It was probably really good. They enforced blasphemy laws. They probably killed people who weren't Trinitarian. Like it's, and the Catholics, I'm not gonna dunk on them either, because like I'm sure they did a lot of horrible stuff, like you read about in the history books, but I'm genuinely sympathetic to the conquistadors, from what I've been able to see. The battle was ultimately over, like, through these diametrically opposed people on like what the universal church is gonna look like in the new land of opportunity. And WASP society has totally disintegrated and moved into weird, spooky enclaves as immigrants throughout like the rest of like Catholic countries and whatnot started populating everywhere, moving everywhere, making everything Catholic, and because of that, that became a vortex, I think, for other people start coming into America and to turn America into this like giant Babylonian like prison country where there's a million different conflicting religions, and they're just trying to mishmash it together right now and figure out the best balance for that, for whatever that is. It's not going to be the Baha'i faith or whatever. That's literally like a crappy prototype of whatever that is, but it's like all of that, and combined with like really annoying, and I don't really care too much about like the insane church politics that some people talk about, but the Christian ecumenicism of like the 50s and onward blurred the distinctions between most denominations anyway, reducing them to whatever the church is that belongs to like a specific class of people, I guess. Like, you know what I mean? Like no one really accepts like the few people, I guess, who are still holding out. Not many people are holding on to like the identity of being like a Presbyterian or a Methodist or whatever. So that's already completely blurred anyway. Catholic churches are really not that distinguishable in America in a lot of places from Protestant churches. So that's already blurred. They're gonna mishmash it. They're gonna find a way to make it work, but it's not actually gonna work. It's stupid. But yeah, and that's why the aesthetics of America is terrible Caribbean music. And now this is the fun part. This is really not going to be intellectual at all. I really don't have anything to say with this. I just wanted to goof around a little. But like, so I'm from Connecticut, and it's like Connecticut is notoriously like Puerto Rican. There's a million Puerto Ricans everywhere, and I think like it's, hold on. Cardi B isn't even like a Puerto Rican at all. Isn't she like Caribbean, Trinidadian or something? regardless, like Cardi B type stuff and like Puerto Rican stuff just became like the face of like Connecticut here. It's like the most disgusting. Like, going. You're Puerto Rican? Shout out, bro. I'm I'm Native American. We're blood, bro. I'm Blackfoot, cuh. I'm a res rat for real, for real. Puerto Rican. All right, so we got a good amount of Puerto Ricans, Puerto Rican associated people in the chat. So maybe you guys can help like clue me in with some stuff. But like I feel like for whatever reason, Puerto Ricans are like the face of like the NWO. Like I don't know, and Dominicans too. It's so strange. Like there's so much I don't know how to describe it. Like I just remember like during 2020 going to like whenever I would go around like the Yale Health Clinic or whatever and going out and seeing like a billion pictures of like Puerto Rican women holding up like booster shots and stuff. It's the most paused crap ever. A Puerto Rican professor invented the term Latinx. Yeah. Puerto Ricans are the most, and it's no offense to Puerto Ricans because it's love out here. I'm a Connecticut OG. I love my Puerto Ricans, but I will admit that white people and black people here, we unite by how much we are annoyed by Puerto Rican people. Like they're so like they're the most like Democrat people like I've ever spoken to. And I don't know what the stats are because maybe there's some like Republican ones, maybe there's even more than Democrats, but at least most like Puerto Ricans that I've spoken to here are like they're all mad Democrat. They listen to the most stupid trash, like completely paused out like COVID raps, and they have the most unstable family structures that I've ever seen. I've seen more teen pregnancies with Puerto Rican people than like I've seen with like black or white people. I feel like they're more violent. I feel like they do more crap, and I feel like that's part of the American universalizing thing I was talking about before. It's like once again like it's the Catholic universal peoples. They're all mongrelized and mixed together, and they're like the universal people in America, and they like I don't know. That's like Bill Gates' favorite race is like Puerto Rican. My father-in-law wore the 3 masks during COVID. Something about living in the tropics makes you less prone to critical thinking. Not even joking. I've thought about that, man. I think it's like you see the most pre-lest, the most insanity, frenzy, like butchering people and cutting them open alive, like in those types of places. I'm not saying that Nordic people or like the freaky snow people don't do that, but they're more cold and stoic and like emotionless about it. Tropical people are hella emotional. You know what I mean? It's and I think I don't know. It's definitely like it's the heat. It's the humidity. I think it's the humidity specifically. There's something so feverish about jungles and rainforests, places where there's a million bugs everywhere, and it's easier to get infected, but at the same time, like stuff grows extremely easily all year round. You always have like surplus food, or a lot of the time you do. People can live relatively easy without toiling too much, unless there's natural disasters such as hurricanes. I think we're solving it right now, to be honest. Rastafari represent. Why are there no Caribbean fathers, but we have desert fathers? Because the desert is brutal. It's not humid. There's a difference between just heat and there's a difference between just heat and like humid heat. You know what I mean? The dry desert is like is scorching. I've some people say I read a Catholic guy write this a while ago about what it could mean for what spirits of the air. Right. That's how Saint Anthony described it. Um, the spirits of the air, how like the sky, the weather dilating and whatnot has like metaphysical consequences or something. Uh, and he connected that to um, Asmodeus and Tobit in the book of Tobit being sent over to Egypt. It's like there's something interesting about that. It's the desert is purging. Okay, let me read. So, I was reading the ladder yesterday, and St. John said something about how certain passions like lust rejoice when you commit vices, but passions like pride and vainglory when you commit virtue. And there's something about the arrogance of surviving in the brutal cold and the laxity and quick biological turnover of the extreme heat. Everybody needs to read the hermeneutics of ecological limitation legit. JMG has some thoughts on this too. Noted. And yeah, I definitely I agree with that. There's a reason why people are the way they are in the climates there, and those people are haunted by like generational demons or spirits or something from living in the land a certain way and like becoming opened up to like natural evils or something. I don't know how else to describe. Like there is a certain type of evil that you can only really tap into being like a Scandinavian warrior or something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah. I lost a friend over the idea that the white man's sin is pathologic altruism. I said it's pride and vainglory. That's true. That's the no, that's very true. That's like one of the first real big things that killed like the Anglosphere at least. Like the English. Sit down. Hi, buddy. The pole delusion. Let me let this cat out. I don't know, go back to Puerto Ricans real quick. I'm not sure what they need to do to fight their Illuminati association, but I'm hoping we see a bunch of like real crazy MAGA Puerto Ricans. It better not be DeSantis neocons. I'm half joking, but like I don't know. Puerto Ricans are some of the most matriarchal people I've like spoken to. The interesting thing about like about black people is that black people, they generally like what you see in worse off communities where there's like a lot of strife and broken up families. A lot of them are mad like individualistic, but they'll break bread with people that are like the sort of the same color as them. Even if there's, at least where I live, like even if there's like sometimes people have like gang differences or whatever. Some people like sometimes like across America there will be like sets that fight each other, but a lot of the time it's like even though they come from broken families, sometimes they're tied down by their moms, but generally they're trying to like meet like-minded people who look like them. So there's a degree of like there's individualism And a lot of rap music, I've talked about it before, but a lot of rap music is about like transcending the need to be burdened by other people and being relatively distrustful of other people and whatnot. And it's been a contradiction that they've had to endure with like wanting to be around people that look like them, but like fighting with them, whatever. White people, it's fairly nuanced. Uh, it's I feel like they go more by like, I mean, obviously you do have some people that are more tied to their like their families and their generational wealth, but I feel it's not like a fixed thing. I feel like Puerto Ricans are so, and just Hispanics in general, like their families devour them. I feel like whatever Hispanics deal with is like their families devour them. They have like you live in a, okay, you're born in America, you're raised to speak English by your community, your school, whatever, but your mom doesn't know any English. She moved in this country and like refused to like learn the language. When you're 5 years old, she makes you sign her government paperwork. When you're across the house or the apartment or whatever, or there's like a sink on or something, your mom, instead of like coming up to you to like speak to you, she'll scream at you in a language you can barely understand, like across the house. There's like 2 TVs on for no reason. They're so single-minded and they overwork themselves for no reason and blame you for it. And they just like, they are like emotionally incestuous with their sons. They compete with their daughters. They despise men, and they like, it's just totally hectic and insane. Like, I'm not gonna say his name, but one of our friends, his like his mom got like angry at him for something. Mexican mom brought over like some Mexican auntie to like remove the door from his room. Like, that's so insane to me, you know? And there's something so like Illuminati potential about that. Honestly, if I was raised that way, I'd be killing people too, man. Like, I'd be doing really bad. I don't know if I can say that. I'd be uh what's his name? I'd be cultural Philistine, man. The problem with Mexicans and a lot of Latinos in general is what I would call familial idolatry. Definitely, it's like they don't do really what white people or black people do. They, you know, they have like the worst. They're so like tied down by their families in like the worst way, the most unhealthy, insane relationships I've ever seen. The Lord have mercy on the Edgars. For real, man. It's brutal. And I think that's part of why, like, white people and black people both kind of get, like, here, from what I've seen, get, like, uncomfortable around, like, Puerto Rican people, because it's like Puerto Ricans are not pursuing, like, they're not trying to do all the same insane, like, hustling or whatever. They're not trying to like ditch their families. They're still like in the battle for some reason, like just absorbing all this stupid crap. That's why like there's a lot of grandmas there's a lot of grandparents talked about in like Hispanic families. They're literally just forcibly glued together more. They'll take your phone and like use it. Instead of using their own phone, they'll like speak at a wall instead of speaking to you. It's the most insane. It's like they're forcing everybody to be a family, but everybody is so single-minded at the same time. And that's like that combined with the fact that there's like Puerto Ricans specifically, and Caribbeans are so uh, Dionysian, expressive, uh, and they're Catholic too. They're Catholic as well. They're the universal whatever. It's like they're just the ideal like Babylonian citizen. Like it's crazy. Voodooites. Yeah. It must be the religion, man. It's I don't know. Like I wish I knew more. But my theory, once again, my theory is legit that like it all goes back. It all goes back to Spain. Spain versus England. Similar ethnic composition, similar relation with the Germans who relate to the rest of the world. Uh, and the Nordic people totally just opposed because the Anglos are more like tempered and dry and drab, whereas the Spaniards are more colorful and baroque. The face of like Catholicism, like the modern Romans, and also the place of ecumenical Abrahamicism, of Sufi and Kabbalistic unity, was lost, comes back to America. It shall be revived through Catholicism. Cubans are like, Cubans are really funny to me. Cubans are really like, they seem really cynical to me for some reason. They kind of remind me, they're kind of like expressive to me. They're sort of similar to like Russians, but I could be wrong. But they remind me. There's differences, but like Caribbeans like to dance and be colorful. Cubans like to drink coffee and have heart attacks. Yeah, I like Cubans. Caribbeans are just like in a different state of consciousness that like I cannot wrap my head around. I'm too drab to wrap my head around that. Sorry, I fell asleep. You're good. Yo, I like you, Zombie Wolf. How can I contact you? I'm hella intrigued by your comment from before. I read it and I was considerate. I still don't. I saw. I'm not trying to be. Let's get on this live. I think I literally have to end the stream to do that. If we could have another stream that's legit just like a conversation if you want. I got all my wisdom out that I needed to get out that I thought was important. So, but yeah, Zombie Wolf, how can I contact you? I was legit not I was not I was not trying to be mysterious or anything. One of my friends found your videos and linked mine. What about the Mary Sue of media literacy? Okay, yeah. So, no one's gonna watch the stream past all the important points that I laid before. There's a giant pleb filter. Everybody's gonna stick around until I started talking about Puerto Ricans. So, I get to say this openly. The Mary Sue of media literacy, I made it up. I don't know what that means, bro. I'm a pathological liar. I just try to come up with the dumbest title. The stupidest title. I was laughing really hard at that. Because I was recalling when I was actually talking to you, Augustine, about like we were thinking about buzzwords. we were talking. I think we were talking about media literacy. I think one of us brought up Mary Sue, and it stuck with me. I've been itching to like combine that. Although, to be frank, I might actually talk about media literacy in some form, but it would have to be more structured. Uh, me and um, me and Jeff Garcia are writing a thing about music, which could potentially cross over into that. I'd love to talk about that though. I want to watch one of these media literacy videos and say something about it. Distributist spoke about it recently, actually, but I completely forgot what he said. You mean just like the the introspective like essayist stuff? Yeah, I hate that too. Like the what the mini docs people make. Um, yeah, totally. It's I've been wanting to if that's what you're saying, I've been wanting to like actually like lampoon that for like a minute. Uh, I don't. It's weird because I've talked about it like a billion times. I think literally like with you, and Jaime and Crespin, like just over like the giant stretch of time. Like I know what I don't like, but I've like no idea how to actually convey that. Like media literacy is dead. I mean those same people are the people perpetuating media illiteracy at the same time because they aestheticize stuff perpetually and uh, they don't look at how culture actually like works like at all. Like they're all mini like pitchfork people. No, I mean they're lamenting that declaration. Yeah, no, I get that too. They're saying that it's bad that people are no longer media literate. Yeah, but they're not like they're not fixed. They're not fixing whatever that is at all. Um, funnily enough, like um, less less essays and just more people actually participating in culture with like a couple people, a select few, like a meritocratic select few talking and engaging with the culture would like totally just fix it. You don't agree with the American public school and university ideology. It means you're media illiterate. It connects to politics. It's just innately political. Uh, I'm not sure what else to say. If you guys have any other things you want me to talk about, I'll put on a closing song. The problem with problems. That's top secret. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Um. What do you guys think? Yeah. I might use this as an outro and just reuse it again as a stream and intro one day. I'll put this on as the outro. Nah, I'm not big on that. I'll do this. Yeah, please. Wait. One last thing.
Check my email, got an invite to a website I don't know. Looked like Google Buzz at first sight, but my friend said that's a no. Why did we need another social network? Doesn't Facebook work alright? A new thing for me to learn. This could take all night. Damn it. What is this Google Plus? I don't need Google Plus.
Dude. This is the best pleb filter.
It's really good.
Alright, I'm ending it now. I'll see you.